Well, hello and welcome everyone to the fourth day of the EMS Leadership Summit. Thanks for joining us.
Welcome, everyone. And I have to say, I never get tired of seeing that intro video. I just love that.
Our graphics people did a great job with that. We're very proud of that.
Absolutely. I get chills every time I see it.
So I want to thank you for being here on the live. Of course, we want to hear from you if you're in the audience watching. Comment below wherever you're joining in from. We'd love to hear the city and state or country. We have participants joining in from over 44 different countries from around the world. So we're thrilled to have a global audience and a global lineup of speakers, and as well as a panel of experts here that are in the green room waiting to take your questions. So you can just comment below and make sure the audio sounds okay. We'd love to hear from you.
And of course, we need to acknowledge that here in the U.S., it's 9/11, which is, a very somber day, and 20 years since the original attacks on the World Trade Center. And so we do, of course, want to pay our respects and be mindful of that as we move forward. But one of the things that we're proud of with this summit is the wide range of speakers and presentations we have on a wide range of topics, including self-care and well-being, which is, in the past has been far too overlooked. So we certainly want to highlight those tonight as we go into our presentation. We have experts on that topic tonight. Three of our, three of our presenters are really experts in this arena. So it's a good night to have all of them on.
So there's still time too, if folks want to chime in here with any questions, you can comment below and we'll take those questions. So it looks like we see Alyssa from Maryland. Hi, Alyssa.
Hi.
Great to see you.
I do want to remind people that they can still go to emsleadershipsummit.com and get a free pass if they haven't yet. The presentations from today will be available all the way until 8 a.m. Eastern tomorrow. And then there's a full lineup tomorrow as well. So it's not too late to take advantage of the free summit. And of course, if you want to have lifetime access, that is still available at the special discounted rate, which will go up on Monday. So if you're even remotely thinking about having the all access pass, there's still time to get that at the discounted rate.
And we want to thank our sponsors. You can watch all of our sessions in the virtual exhibitor hall at emsleadershipsummit.com/exhibit. And to thank all of our great sponsors, and you can check out their interactive booths. There's plenty of opportunities and resources available here to access.
Absolutely. And we ask that you please visit our sponsors, give them some love. They are the reason we can do this for free and allow, free passes for people all around the world. So every one of the booths offers something of value, not just information on the services that they provide, but also downloadable toolkits and free trials and, all kinds of cool discounts, just like you would get if you went to a in-person conference. So every one of these exhibitor booths are interactive. Look at that beautiful booth from Ninth Brain.
Of course, the folks up at Technomount, we thank them for helping translate today's first multilingual presentation with Eric Hemmel from Quebec in French, and they helped with the translations for that. So you can visit their booth and check out some of the great safety equipment they have to offer as well.
Absolutely. And do want to mention we still have some books left in the book signing department over there. This is something first time we've done. Chris Ceballero's new book, which is extraordinary. His presentation was also on this topic. He's given us some signed copies. Not only did he sign them, but he wrote a note in each one, which is just so special. And we have it at a special conference rate of only $9. So, and you can get a signed copy. You can also bundle it with our book if you so desire. But we have a limited number of those. So if you want to take advantage of that, please do that today.
Shout out to Martin at Fire Rescue TV for broadcasting all of these live streams through the Fire Rescue TV network into almost 400 fire and EMS stations across the country, as well as Binderlift, the Citizen CPR Foundation, and Resuscitation Academy for coming together on a great topic of challenging sudden death. A great panel of the two organizations, along with downloadable toolkits. I mean, such great resources here.
Absolutely. Just so many people giving of themselves so that up and coming EMS leaders, seasoned EMS leaders, everyone in the pre-hospital space can get some great information and participate in this wonderful lineup of presenters and, such great information.
We can't forget the great folks at Fairfax County Fire and Rescue for their recruitment booth. So they've got some great resources here to check out about their department, a large organization, over 1,400 personnel. And we had a great conversation last night about training and innovations in recruitment and retention practices.
And their innovative strategies really were fantastic. And that was yesterday, yes, that they spoke.
Yeah,
so you'd have to get an all access pass to be able to see that. But it was really innovative, cool stuff that they're doing.
All right. So Lisa, let's bring on some of our expert speakers that are here. Looks like also we've got Dwight. Dwight, good to see you.
Hey, Dwight.
From Michigan. And it looks like we've got all of our panelists here. I'm going to welcome Corey. Corey, can you hear us okay?
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yes, Corey. Hi.
Welcome. We're going to welcome Eric Chase.
Hey, Eric.
Hi, Robbie. Hi, Lisa.
Nice.
Hi, Corey.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
All right. And Mick Gunderson. Mick, can you hear us okay?
Hey,
I think you're muted there. Yep. Welcome. And we have Eric Hamill. Eric, welcome.
Bonjour. Bonjour. That's all I got. So
thank you, everyone, for being here live with us on this panel. Thank you for your recordings and your presentations that you've been able to present today on day number 4 of the EMS Leadership Summit. So we so appreciate your expertise in sharing yourself with the world.
Yeah, it's really been an amazing day of speakers. And thank you, as Robbie said, for making yourself available for this tonight. Hopefully we'll get some questions from the viewers. We also have some questions that people have been sending in that perhaps we'll get to. But we really want to just go around and give everyone a chance to share anything you want to say, either about your presentation today, to sort of highlight it, or anything else you want to share about leadership in the pre-hospital space.
And maybe we could start with Mick. Mick, I was, I'm a huge fan of your work and your work in research and just driving innovations in the pre-hospital space. I was pulling up the Tampa Bay EMS Journal from 1987 that you were the editor of, one of the first pre-hospital care journals, I believe, and really driving innovation in 1987.
Yeah, that was the first peer-reviewed journal. Started, as I mentioned in the intro on the video, with an engineer's Mac down the hallway when that was brand new, and I could do the page layout software and Microsoft Word and everything all on one 3.5-inch floppy. I don't know what happened to memory efficiency in computers after that, but that was a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm. Well, what would you like to say about your presentation, or anything you'd like to offer about EMS leadership?
Yeah, something that kind of came out in the talk that I just recap a little bit is this whole issue of culture and how important it is for leaders to really set the tone in the organization and do what they can to establish the right culture. And leaders are in positions to influence the agendas of meetings, the things that get measured, how they get measured, how key decisions are made about promotional opportunities, etc. And I think those are really important signals that can get sent throughout an organization that I think are oftentimes underappreciated. And the tie into quality is that, quality matters. I mean, people call EMS in their time of great emotional and physical need in the case of the true emergencies. But even with the non-emergencies, they're reaching out for help, and they have certain expectations about what we do and how we do it. And it's really important that we try our best to make sure that we're delivering our services effectively and efficiently. And the effectiveness part is, what we talk about with quality typically, with tools like Six Sigma and things of that nature. But also the efficiency comes into it. And that's where tools like Lean are often used. And it's important that leaders kind of understand those concepts and, what is involved with them, so they can, influence getting those kinds of ideas into the right place in different parts of the organization, not just the clinical part, but all the other support functions as well. So I'm hoping that's, been kind of the takeaway that people have had from the presentation that I gave today.
Yeah, it's excellent. And, in my experience, and anyone, can jump in if you agree or disagree, but in my experience, everybody wants to do a good job. People aren't joining EMS or for being a first responder for the accolades and high salaries. That's for sure, right? We all want to do a good job, and the culture is so important because, I often say you can buy a very expensive rose bush, but if you put it in the parking lot, it's not going to do well, right? And if you can take high performers and put them in a toxic environment, or even an environment that's not conducive to growing, and you're going to have, that person is going to either leave or become just disengaged. So I don't think you can underestimate the importance of culture. So thank you for bringing that up. Eric, Eric Himmel, I wanted to just touch base with you. I don't know if you have Dude with you, but it was very exciting to see your presentation and talking about how, Dude is helping so many people dealing with, feelings that maybe in the past really haven't been able to talk about, right?
Exactly. And I'd like to start with a case study, because when we recorded the presentation, it was I'd say a few weeks ago, and last week we had an MVA with at first two patients that we declared dead at the scene, and two others that were small children. Well, one was 10 and the other one was 14, and they were like polytrauma and unconscious and barely breathing, and they were hit by a drunk driver, which was also polytrauma. And the guy did lots of damage on the highway. And after that, we spoke with the medics, diffusing a lot of stuff after the case. And they said, well, we're all okay. And we had like 6 units on that call. And they were like kind of okay. And I spoke to them a few days after. And they were like, you know what, we were kind of okay. We're now kind of okay also. But then the media started to play around and, all over the accident. And the guy was accused of drunk driving, all that stuff. And all of a sudden, when the supervisors came back to us and they talked to these guys, well, they said, you know what, I don't think that we're as okay as we thought we were. And that's the whole process of PTSD prevention, because we talk to medics, they're trained to do the job and they do their job, but they're also humans, and they have feelings, and they relate to their families and to their folks. And when they lay down and they lay back and they decompensate after a call, some things they might come over. So PTSD prevention, as I said in the presentation, is a long process, and it's everybody's job. Everybody from the peer support to supervisors to directors to all these guys and these things, and the whole process will prevent PTSD, and not just just one call once, but the whole process. And that was a good example of they were well at first, and they were not that well after that. And we're planning on having a big debriefing with all these guys on next Wednesday with our social worker, because what was supposed to be okay, well, it's not okay right now.
Yeah. And that importance of follow through and follow up and not assuming that someone's okay, it's like the shock wears off, or like you said, there's so much more attention brought to it, and not, continuing to check after that first okay.
Exactly.
And maybe it's also the cumulative trauma. So that's one incident that may get worse over time, but it's also the culmination of multiple incidents. And maybe Eric Chase, you could speak a little bit about this, since your presentation was on techniques and concepts you've worked with first responders on how to deal with the cumulative trauma as well.
Yes, and I appreciate that, and everyone's thoughtfulness about today in particular, and how days like today and the magnitude of an event 20 years ago or an event in Canada several days ago can impact us individually, and how we want to say that we're okay and we want to disengage from those emotions that we're experiencing. And one of the things that we've been doing with the improv piece and being present, and I was listening to Corey's presentation earlier today, the true impact of being present and being mindful of our feelings and getting in touch with them, whether they're bitterness, anger, sadness, or joy, or some feelings in between, and getting ourselves in an uncomfortable position, but yet growing through that vulnerability to gain the strength and accepting that we can't always be where we want to be, whether it be professionally, emotionally, or spiritually. And I think that's one of the things that I love about what Eric does with PTSD, and what each of you have kind of presented, how everything ties together in the trainings and the leadership pieces that people are trying to bring forward, is the opportunity for each of us to hear other people's stories so that we can connect, because they're not always going to hear something that I say, but each of you offers something that when they're integrated and put together, people can really grasp those things and make them actionable in their own lives, and then share them with other people.
Mm.
Absolutely. And, it's been a theme, I think, every one of the daily debriefs about the need to connect. This kind of goes back to Mick starting us off with culture, right? But for leaders to really focus on connecting, coming with curiosity, not having these preconceived notions or some kind of cookie cutter approach. Here's how we deal with somebody who's not okay. And then everybody gets that same, recipe. And that the importance of first and foremost, just connecting and approaching people with curiosity and a willingness to really hear what people are saying. Because sometimes when someone says they're okay, it's like, oh, thank God, because I don't want to deal with that. Right. So, I want to hear that okay, and then just carry on. And because maybe I don't want to deal with my own feelings, right? Or my feeling inadequate that I don't know how to deal with, somebody who's not okay. So I think that willingness to slow down and connect and as you said, both Erics actually, about staying in the conversation, not just assuming everybody's fine.
And Eric Hamill, I think you had a.
Yeah, well, you know what? My wife was not in EMS at all. She teaches like kindergarten classes, but she's got a strong interest into psychology, and she says, you know what? When people want to share something with you, when they want to talk to you, the only thing you got to do is to listen. Shut up and listen. And basically, like you said, Lisa, we'd like to find a remedy, something to do. But the only thing we have to do is shut up and listen. And many times that's the solution to the problem. People want to ventilate their emotions. That's it. So just be there, shut up, listen, and that'll probably do it.
Absolutely, yeah. Eric, for sure. I mean, if granting someone your listening can be one of the best gifts, if you've ever had somebody, authentically listen without their preconceived judgments and notions, and listening to reload, it's been called, like they're getting ready to formulate something in their head. So absolutely, it's a true gift that you can give someone, is just your full attention and listening. And Eric Chase, I think.
Yeah, it's really impactful. And one of the things that we do with the improv piece is we take it to another step further, and we do drama therapy or playback theater. And somebody will be asked a question, and we'll kind of engage the audience, and we'll do some skits and some games in front of them, kind of engage the humor mechanism. And it's not dark humor; it's actually lighthearted and fun. And we start engaging the those that are participating in the audience to start sharing stories. When somebody's comfortable enough, we have them come up and we do a 3 series tableau where improvisers act that out in front of them, and they start to now see that again, something that they've maybe pushed back in the back of their minds and the recesses of their minds, and it's now real again, and it's something that they can see and feel. It's tangential. They have an opportunity to experience the emotion again, and then come to grips with it and start again addressing it. Not only the fact are they feeling the emotions again, but they're in a safe environment, the psychologically safe environment that we all talked about, in creating that opportunity where there's lack of judgment, lack of critical feedback, that it's just being present, being mindful, sitting with them, because it's without words more often than not. Then we ask them to engage their feelings and emotions and how they're feeling right now. And because they've seen other people do that and they've seen other people be bold and vulnerable, they start engaging in that same type of activity and behavior to share themselves truly and start unveiling or unmasking who they are. So they start being more less disassociated with those around them and being a little bit more eager to be present again themselves.
I want to bring Corey into the conversation because in your presentation, you talked a lot of it. Well, it was about it, having a military support program, and obviously a lot of these kinds of things can be present with people who have served in the military. So I'd love to hear from you, your thoughts on all of what we're talking about.
A lot of it, as Eric and Eric have pointed out, we just try and engage and keep that dialogue going. But we have to get a base. So that's why we have the mentor, essentially, kind of link up with them and kind of get that, how are they right now? And kind of, as they go along, keep checking in, even during the deployment phase, because war is horrible in general. And there's no real words to kind of explain it. And you can read lots of books and watch lots of movies, but it just doesn't grasp the actual what it's like. So it's a very traumatic experience. And just having that base and then somebody back home to kind of tether you to a safe environment is huge, absolutely huge for them. And just a simple fact of not only just talking, but hey, we sent you a care package, and just getting that care package from home. And one of the lectures earlier was talking about just breaking that thought process for just a minute. I think it was Rob Cook. And just taking a second makes all the difference. And so that's kind of what we do is we also incrementally take little seconds here and there. And then over time, that can make a big difference. And it also helps us get a gauge of when they come home, where they are and where they may need to be. And then kind of helping them through that process. Yeah.
That's great. And that, you mentioned mentoring, and I keep feeling like I want to keep looping Mick back in here because talking about culture, right? Because in my, Robbie and I have been doing this for about 10 years. And, when we first started talking about culture, I swear to God, people were like, what is she talking about? We don't know what she's talking. They would look at Robbie and I like we had 3 heads. And now, at least when we talk about culture, people have a sense of what it is. And now, psychologically safe culture is really getting in the vernacular. But I think that's such an important, obviously it's important about all of it, but when you're talking about people's mental well-being, you're talking about people, even physical well-being, they have to feel like in the culture, it's safe to talk about it. It's safe to say I'm not okay, or it's safe to say I'm not sure if I'm okay, right? That hasn't always been the case in EMS, correct?
No, it hasn't, and I would expand your thinking about this to think about this whole topic in terms of a process, because it is a process. You will have policies and procedures in place for what actions the management team and you would take as a peer in response to someone going through a tough call, a tough run of calls even. And that process can be preventive in nature with psychological resilience and other things that the management team can be aware of, can be effective in preventing PTSD types of incidents. So there's a process component there in preparation and resiliency and prevention. And then when the events actually happen, what is the process we follow for how we respond to that? And while it may not seem like it is the topic of traditional research, there's actually a type of research called qualitative research that is very well suited to looking at these sorts of things. So I would encourage leaders to study not only this from a cultural standpoint, but from a process standpoint, and do what they can to look at the best practices of other organizations, look at literature from even other disciplines, whether that's law enforcement, the military, other aspects of healthcare, because they all have to deal with similar sorts of scenarios that we do, maybe not in the same environment, but there are those severe psychological stressors. And that's where I think, again, the leadership comes in, being willing to look at other disciplines and tap into other resources and just kind of bring all those things to the table, but address it with the same, discipline and measurement to the extent it lends itself to that you would for improving, peri-shock pauses and compression fractions on resuscitation. Many of those same tools and approaches can be applied to these situations as well.
Yeah, Mick, that's so well said. And it reminds me too of a presentation from Dr. Peter Antebi from last year, talking about how the Parkland Coral Springs Fire Department hit one of the departments he's a medical director for a few years ago, had actually invited psychological psychiatrists into the organization that were members of the community and said, hey, become a firefighter right along with our paramedics and become part of the department. So it really kind of got buy-in from the department members, having people ride along that were providers that were very well in tuned with people who have gone through trauma, and develop those relationships early. And actually, out of all those people that went through the same training, they got gear, they got equipment and uniforms, and they became part of a response group. So it's such a great topic that you talk about, this structure that can drive results. And unfortunately, when the Parkland school shooting happened, they had a system in place to support the providers of that mass shooting, and had people there in the aftermath. I mean, it was such a great support network for such a terrible incident.
Yeah.
Yeah, the whole idea of non-clinical volunteers in organizations, I think, is vastly underutilized.
Yeah.
So don't think about just having members of your community being available to be responders, but whether it's chaplaincies, is becoming more and more common. It's been around for a long time in the fire service and police service. I think is a little bit less common with third service EMS agencies, unfortunately. But that's one example. And then the other examples you bring forward, like Peter Antebi was talking about with the social workers. But even think about it, from an IT perspective, quality managers. You might have a high-tech manufacturing firm, in your community, and these people live, eat, and breathe Six Sigma and Lean and all these other disciplines, and have them come and become part of your organization and contribute in those dimensions. So there's a lot of different ways that we can engage the resources of our community that I think has tremendous potential.
It reminds me too, we just put a curriculum together for New York State for a leadership program for the entire state. And we had permission to use Toyota production systems. They have a TSCC committee where all they do is work with nonprofits and organizations, and a video that the Cleveland Clinic uses when they teach process improvement to the frontline caregivers in a short workshop. They showed this one video of how Toyota came in and helped the food bank in response to a natural disaster, Hurricane Sandy, and that the simple tweaks that they can make in delivery can have drastic results for the outcomes. So to bring in those outside experts is such a brilliant idea.
Yeah, and I think the other piece too is the willingness to ask the frontline folks, right? It's not incumbent on the leaders to just come up with these answers, but to really ask the frontline folks, what do you think? Right? What do you see is the best way for us to handle this, right? And whether you're talking about dealing with trauma or you're dealing with, how to provide more quality care or be more efficient. The people closest to the task typically have the best answers for those things.
Yeah, and that was one of the big breakthroughs with some of the early quality pioneers. Is it used to be just kind of the college boys, who would be the ones designing the process, and they always knew best. And one of the breakthroughs in manufacturing quality that is, trickled down into service quality, healthcare, et cetera, is exactly the point you bring up, Lisa, that the people that are closest to the process, live, eat, and breathe and, work inside that process every day, have tremendous insights. And too often, the managers and the leaders of the organization don't ask legitimately for their input. They'll give it, some, I think superficial acknowledgement, but where they legitimately say, we want you to, be part of the solution. Imagine a scenario in which there's a clinical error that occurs, and we understand from contemporary quality science that that's often the result of a process error, whether it's related to training, process design, et cetera. And it's incredibly rare where it was anything, with any malfeasance or intent from the worker. Mm-hmm. So from that premise, we can take one of those situations and really say to that person that unfortunately happened to be in the wrong place at the wrong time and was where that error occurred, say, what could we do to redesign this process in a way that would prevent this from happening sometime in the future, and have them legitimately be, an integral part of that team. So it's not about, what did you do wrong and we've got to send you to remediation and all of that sort of stuff. It's more of an opportunity to engage them in a process improvement project and say, okay, now we've seen where the chink in the armor is. We found this opportunity where this can get screwed up. What can we do to change the design of the process to make it impossible, or at least a lot more difficult for this to ever happen again? And it shifts it away from the psychological burden of, I made this mistake, and all of those kind of, emotional consequences that we were talking about earlier can be associated with a medical error, particularly when it results in, a bad outcome for a patient or even a death. We have the opportunity there to make this into a net positive experience for that member of our organization rather than a negative.
Yeah.
I was just going to say that's what Chris Kroboth talked about yesterday from Fairfax County, how their approach to training is, is getting leaders to see where's the learning gap and where, taking that responsibility as a leader. If you, but just by you asking them, how can we do this better? What can we do to prevent this in the future? That communicates something as a leader, right? That you're not blaming them. You're not trying to shame them. That actually you care about, you're right. It's the system that produced it. It's not the individual, was just a poor soul that ended up in the wrong place at the wrong time as a result of the system.
Yeah.
Would it be okay if I change gears just a little bit? Because one of the things I'm present to in this panel is that I think that everyone here has started something new in their organization, and we get a lot of questions, and especially post summit, like, where do I begin? Right? People want to know, how do I do this? Right? And I mean, there was a time before there was a therapy dog, right, Eric? And there was a time before, Corey, there was the military program, and Erica, before you were doing improv, or before people would accept it. So I wondered if you each could say a little bit about, how did you go from idea to implementation, or obviously not the whole story because we have a limited amount of time, but if you could say something, to kind of offer ideas for people about how to get started in these kinds of things. Eric?
Yep. Well, actually, there was a need, and I was actually lucky because we had other services in Canada that had some therapy dogs. So the only thing I did is to take the ID and to suit the ID with our service. But if I may add, I'm also responsible for what we call CIP. So it's a care improvement kind of thing, and innovation. And the innovation in our service comes from the bottom. Every member of our service can submit an innovation. And is that like kind of the father or the mother of the innovation? And we give these people money and all the help they need from management to get their ID up to, I should say, the sky. So it might be some little things, some tweak they have every day. That kind of piece of equipment is not working pretty well. I have an idea. Well, let's try it on. And we try them on. We give them all they need to try it. And after that, well, we share the idea with the whole service. Sometimes idea don't get through, but it's okay. But there's some kind of a mindset where you can change the whole thing. Just submit your ID. And at first we had a few IDs, and now we're having like some kind of almost 200 projects going on. It's amazing. And people embark. At first they say, well, that's what worked. Well, try it. And when they see that their fellow work in the same truck, that kind of thing we have now in the truck. Yeah, well, that was my idea. Oh, is that right? Yeah, that's right. Oh, so I might add something. I might share my idea with the service, and that really people like that very much. So basically, that's how it works. I think you have to have a process that everybody can share an ID. And,
that's really great.
And like Mick said, if every time I take that truck, I do something and something happens, I miss accident every time. Well, I might have an ID to share with the other ones that we won't break a leg on that thing because I have an ID to prevent an accident. So share it with the other ones, and that way probably the whole service will benefit from that idea.
That's great. I love that. That's fantastic. Reminds me of an organization I worked with at one point. They, after we did all this work to do organizational change, one of the things they started to measure was the number of ideas that individuals brought to their managers, and as a measure of how open the managers were to and all the way up. So it's a wonderful. I love that idea. It's great. Corey, can you? I'm sorry.
I was just going to say, and one of the things that the leadership can do to really reinforce that idea that Eric was mentioning was celebrating the failures as much as you celebrate the successes. So if they made a good swing at the ball, even if it didn't, connect and, you didn't get a base hit, it was a good swing, it was a good pitch, Here's a good try at it, because the nature of innovation is that you will fail more often than you succeed as you try all these different ideas. So you have to know that going in and encourage people to swing at that ball as much as possible. And that's, again, the way you develop a culture that supports innovation.
I feel like it really would destigmatize the failure, just as we talked about earlier, is destigmatizing the PTSD or the fact that you're dealing with challenging situations. That's really great.
I like to remind people that Post-it notes were a mistake. They were a failure.
Yeah, this crummy glue just doesn't stick on permanently.
That's right.
Wait a minute.
Ta-da! So you never know where an idea is going to go. Corey, could you say a little bit about how you guys started the military support program? Like, how did that idea go from idea to fruition?
So it was the basic, we saw a need and just tried to fill that need. And it started out as more of a grassroots leader type movement. And it was just a couple of us military people that knew each other, and we were very active, and we're like, hey, this needs to happen. So then we started to build out the program. I started kind of assigning, hey, you do this, I do this. And then we just came up with, a bunch of publications. We had brainstorming and did a lot of ideas bouncing off of each other. Once we had everything kind of together, we went and presented it to the fire chief at the time. He loved it. And then that was all she wrote. Then it was off to the races.
And that really has helped too with recruitment, correct? The military support program.
Yes, very much so. And I've been working very closely with recruitment, and we have kind of a cadre of people of different disciplines because all the armed forces speak a little bit different language. So we try and match up the same services with wherever they're recruiting at. And we try and do it. We're not always able to do it. But they also, I think, Lissa even said, and Clay, that they would bring us into Zooms. That's been extremely helpful. So we would be able to represent there, or even if we're not able to, they have somebody that they can refer to. So they can say, hey, well, I don't know, but here's an email of someone. Here's the question, kind of link us up, and then we can start that dialogue. And I think it's very helpful for people that are trying to transition out. And I believe that was actually one of the questions that I was going to address whenever that's appropriate. Would it be appropriate to do it now, or?
Oh, Lisa, you're muted.
Sorry, I've only been doing this for years, 4 nights in a row, and still don't. I was going to say, let's go to Eric to answer that other question, then we'll come back to you to answer the question that you want to answer. Does that work? Okay, good. Eric Chase, how did you get your program started?
So it was interesting. It was more of a feeling and a feeling of uncomfortability within myself and how I was not dealing appropriately with things in and around my life, whether it be at work or at home. And I had the experience where failure was just getting such a burden to me, or the sense of failure. And like Nick said, in improv, and that's one of the big pieces of improv, is we celebrate failure. Failure is something that we have to be able to move on from and then grow through. And through the opportunities to share improv and going to trainings and meeting with people, it's building a collaborative environment where people support you and they're intentional about giving you opportunities and also you giving them opportunities. And the biggest thing for us with EMS Improv was that we needed another avenue that we felt we could engage people and be mindful of their needs and let them share their stories. And there's plenty of platforms out there for people to do that, but we wanted to get less technical, have less technology, and do things really face-to-face, person-to-person, and really let those mirror neurons start firing and start engaging again with humanity and make some really good connections. So it was just an opportunity where I had some tough times, some dark times in my life, and coming through law enforcement transition into fire and EMS. And really had to make some big changes to not only probably maintain a marriage, but to also become a happier person in my own life and seeking joy. So those were kind of the tenets that I was looking for. And then just having really awesome people that I partner with.
That's great. That's great. And it just sounds to me like, for anybody who's listening, that, if you have an idea and you just move forward, you just take the next step, and, was it Wayne Gretzky? No, I guess it wasn't. I'm trying to think of a quote, but the answer, every time you don't ask, the answer is no, right? That's something like that is the question or the quote.
And it's, and I hear too, it's finding, like-minded people that are willing to support you in your organization, having that, supportive space, being around other people who are willing to lift you up. And I mean, that's one of our biggest honors, is to be here with all of you, and to have created a platform and a stage to reach more people with your stories, because each one of you has such powerful stories to share with the world. And we so appreciate that about every one of you.
So we'll go back to Corey, and if you want to go ahead and answer that question. I know which one. I think it's the one someone had emailed us in. If you could just read the question. Or do you want me to?
Yeah. Yes, please. Sorry. Thank you.
No problem. It was about transitioning from, someone had asked about transitioning from a military career. Of course, I can't.
Yeah, I think it's 24 years,
24 years, I believe.
Military leadership into the civilian medical sector. I'll pop it up on the screen.
Thanks.
There we go. So the short answer is not great. It's very hard, and it takes a very long time. And some of the stuff that a lot of everybody else has kind of been talking about is just those little incremental steps every day. But the going from the military into the civilian sector is it's almost night and day, because whereas in the military, it was almost absolute, I tell you to do something and you do it. Where in the civilian sector, it's, I tell you to do something, but it's kind of asking. So will you kind of do it, but you need to do it. So how do I influence you to do this without ordering you to do it? And I don't know if that makes sense, but it's a lot softer than being in the military. Being in the Marine Corps, it's, when we give orders, it's absolute, and sometimes it's very direct. I'll just say it's very direct. But coming out to the civilian sector, you can't talk to people like that. You have to get their buy-in, and especially with the newer generations, you definitely cannot talk to them in that manner most of the time. Now, if it's a heated situation and you have to get things done, people understand that stuff. But yeah, just taking it one at a time. And some of the stuff that we do is we reach the recruits. We start with recruitment and kind of get the ball rolling with military personnel, trying to get them adjusted. And then once they come into recruit school, we have kind of a separate class for them of how to adjust to civilian life. And that seems to help a lot. It also gives them references, so they can kind of talk to somebody while they're moving through the transition, which again is not very easy, but hopefully that helps.
Well, that's great that you there's so many innovative things going on at Fairfax County Fire Rescue. Thank you for that. So we're starting to get towards the end of our time together tonight. So we want to sort of throw it back out to each of you to give you a chance to just any final thoughts that you'd like to leave our readers with.
So
go ahead.
I was just going to say, we were talking before about the idea of innovation.
Hold on. Oh, there you go. Okay. Just wanted to make sure everybody was on mute. Sorry, Mick.
Okay. We were talking about innovation a little bit before, and one other thought I'd like to throw out there for people to chew on is that even if you're not in a formal leadership position, you're not one of the managers. One of the approaches that I try to take, I kind of developed in response to questions I would get from frontline personnel that would be frustrated with the quality management program of their organization. Sometimes it's lack of robustness, or just, is kind of old school, trying to pin blame on people and that sort of thing. And I kind of came up with an idea I called a chicken franchise model of EMS. And so think of you and your partner on your unit, or you and your crew, as a chicken franchise. And you have the, the uniform and the, corporate manual and all that sort of stuff. But at the end of the day, it's up to you to do a good job and meet the mission, whatever that mission may be. And so, for example, I found myself earlier in my career, when I was working on the front line, very frustrated as a frontline medic, being very interested in research and quality issues, et cetera, while I was still working on the street. And so one of the things I decided was, I might need to do a good job in spite of my management rather than because of my management. So I started measuring my own quality and the quality of our unit without any support from, the rest of the organization. But it kind of speaks to the issue of, taking responsibility for what you do as a professional. And if you can get support from your leadership, great. But don't let that be an excuse to get in the way between you and performance excellence. If you think about it, there's an enormous amount of things you can do individually and ideally in conjunction with your partner or your crew to make things better. And I think when you start doing that, it will start getting the attention of management. And now you have a working model for a potential innovation rather than just an idea. And if you have some data to back it up, so much the better. And, so some of the things that, came up that way were things to improve the efficiency of, different processes, with the layout of drug boxes and the layout of the equipment in the ambulance. At that time, the crews were able to control themselves, but it just provided an opportunity to innovate in spite of management rather than because of management. So just, if you find yourself in that situation, explore the idea of doing quality on yourself and with your partner, ideally, or the rest of your crew. And don't necessarily wait for the rest of the organization. Let them catch up to you.
That's great. That's great.
How great is that? It's leadership at every level, right?
Yeah.
Bottom up.
Self-leadership too.
Self-leadership.
Just complete awesome. Eric Hamill, how about for you? Any final things you'd like to leave our participants with, or?
Well, actually, the subject of my presentation was talking about the dog, the therapy dog. And I started with a case study, and I'll finish with a case study. A week ago, we had a young medic who had a big MVA, and she was kind of shook up. That's what their partner told us. But she didn't want to ventilate. She didn't want to talk. She said she was okay. Anyways, our way of doing things is, well, come talk to me. We'll be there. We can have fun and just talk about, I don't know what, but just talk. And she was closed. She didn't want to talk. She was, I'm okay. I'm good. I don't know why we're doing this. And dude was so a pest. He was, well, actually, he's trying to put his head on the lap and, to insist on being pet. But that time I would have strangled him. He was so insisting on that. And finally, she finally tried to pet dude, and she burst into tears. And what she ventilated was, yes, Dad, call. But all the other bad ideas that she had with, well, she just separated and all that stuff. And suddenly all these things being ventilated. And after that, she said, well, you know what? I'm feeling pretty good now. Thank you very much. But at first she was not able to talk. She didn't want to talk. And the dog at that time, actually, it was a catalyst, was the thing that made her talk. And after that, well, she was okay. And she sat there petting dude for about 15 minutes after that. So she was kind of okay after that. We took an appointment with the social worker and all that stuff. But the first step was taken at that time, just because of the dog. So if you're not sure if you should invest on that kind of thing, that's a good investment from my part.
It's great. We'll give Dude our love. All right. How about Corey? Any last comments before we wrap up? And then we'll go to Eric.
Well, I'm just very humbled to be in the presence of all of these people and all the speakers. I mean, I am learning just a tremendous amount from this. Absolutely. And just like you said, Eric, Chase, I'm learning like little bits from every single person, but all together, I mean, it's just absolutely amazing. So
that's great. Well, thank you so much for your presentation and for being a part of this. And Eric Chase, how about we round out with you?
To echo Corey and each participant, I'm just grateful and again humbled as well to be in a position to participate and offer some humble advice and insight. There was a question about confidence, and there was two of them were kind of two-tiered. And one of the things that I learned about gaining confidence when I come from a tactical operations background and a military background in the Army that led itself into fire and EMS was that I had to be boldly vulnerable and to be able to state unequivocally that I didn't know at times what I didn't need to or didn't know. And as an operator, I had to know job 1 to job 5 when we were going in and breaching. And if I wasn't clear or sure, that's why we did so much training. The point to saying all that is when we can look inward and determine that we are unsuccessful for whatever reason, that's an opportunity for growth. And we need to surround ourselves with people and systems that will encompass the generosity of the human spirit, the like-mindedness, and the collaborative creativity, co-creative process that will allow us to grow and share. And I want to close my piece with just one of my favorite quotes, and it's a Viktor Frankl quote. Between stimulus and response, there's space. In that space is a power to choose our response. In our response lies our growth and our freedom. And I'm grateful. Thank you.
Thank you so much. That was great. We love that quote too. Well, gentlemen, thank you all. Robbie and I are so privileged to be with you tonight and just honored that you chose to be a part of our summit. And we just can't thank you enough for what you've provided. And Robbie, anything else you'd like to say?
I just want to thank you for your service to our country, for those in the military, and as well as those that have served our communities domestically as well over the years, and that you continue to do so in a leadership role and being a great example of leaders. And we're again thrilled and privileged to have you here sharing with our audience. So thank you again for being here, everyone, for being here tonight. All right, so folks, panelists, thanks again for being here. We're gonna let you go, and we're gonna go over the lineup for tomorrow. So thanks again for being here. That was so great. What great leaders, what great questions that we were able to address. So thank you for that.
Yeah, perfect. Just perfect conversation for tonight.
Tomorrow, we have a live presentation, actually one of the very few that we do aside from our live daily debrief. So I'm just going to bring that up. So Nadine Levick will be live streaming tomorrow on the 12th at 1 p.m. Eastern. So please feel free to check out her presentation, be with us with your questions. And if you've ever been to a Nadine Levick presentation, you're in for a treat. So she will be with us tomorrow. We want to thank our sponsors, and we want to invite you to check out the virtual exhibitor hall. Again, you can access that even after the conference, but we'd encourage you during the conference to check those booths out, see what people have to offer from the CME Collective and IA Med the specials that they're offering our participants all month long. To the Emergency Responder Safety Institute. We've got Suze Jeffries talking about nutrition and easy, giving away a snack guide, healthy snack guide. So she's got a bunch of tips on really how busy professionals can take care of themselves. To the Resuscitation Academy and Citizen CPR Foundation, I'm thrilled to have two great organizations in that panel discussion. We're leaving up all week long, so you can for sure check out that panel discussion on challenging sudden death in your community and really being a leader for resuscitation and survival in your community.
And we want to shout out to Binderlift, a second year sponsor, as is actually IAMED, right?
Right.
But Binderlift is doing a free field trial for 30 days of this amazing product, and I love their tagline, because humans don't have handles, right?
We all know we've been to those situations where folks don't just fall in the easiest to reach positions, and it's often those tight situations where this device can just make it safer for the providers and the patient. So we so appreciate their support. As well as the folks at Technomount. You saw Dude, the therapy dog. They provided Eric's presentation in French and translated that into English for us. And they're a supporter of Dude, the therapy dog in Quebec.
And then also we want to shout out to MetaCredits, who are providing the CAPC accreditation for all access pass holders who would like to get CMEs. And before we go over the rest of the lineup for tomorrow, shall we talk a little bit about our booth?
Yeah. So we've announced it just about 2 days ago now. We're talking about EMS Leadership Live. So this opportunity for for you and I, Lisa, to share some of our the last 10 years of our experience working together in EMS organizations and helping people have, transformation, helping them see the possibility of a new future, maybe helping them see where they may be stuck or challenged and how to overcome that from an appreciative approach to change. So we're super excited about this event. It's not going to be recorded. You can attend from anywhere. So no travel expenses, time zones to cross, expensive airfare. And you get to be live with us face to face. And we're excited about that opportunity. So emsleadershipacademy.com/live to get more information on that.
Yeah, and we'll just say that for us, we're big fans of online learning, obviously, but nothing really competes with the possibility of live training. And this is really a solution that we have found for a lot of people who want to provide training and yet, cannot afford to bring in live quality training that really will make a difference. So lots of information on this page. And also, if you have any questions, you're welcome to email us at support@emsleadershipacademy.com. And we'll be happy to answer any questions. But there's a special summit price. So if you take advantage of that, we highly recommend it because it will be going up. The fee will be going up. I mean, this is really a low price for 3 days of immersive training. We'll have a lot of interactions, not only with us, but you'll have interactions from people all over the world who attend the training. And we already have somebody from Singapore.
Right.
So how cool is that?
It's very, very cool. And so grab that special pricing. And before the price goes up, we're also offering, Lisa, some live opportunities monthly as we lead up to it. So the sooner you register, the sooner you're going to have access to us live, at least on a monthly basis, where we can, you can hit the ground running. You don't have to wait till February. February is going to be the big 3-day conference that we can't wait for. But we'll be making ourselves available every month leading up to it for those that register. So the sooner you register, the sooner you save. And of course, if organizations need group billing, you can reach out to us, and there's information on this. So emsleadershipacademy.com/live or emsleadershipsummit.com/live.
Awesome. So should we do the lineup real quick? And
absolutely. So again, folks, check out the different booths here and please interact with those booths. Our sponsors would certainly appreciate it, and they'd love to hear from you. So this is tomorrow's session. So why don't I go to, this was today's session. So let me go to tomorrow's sessions.
Yeah, we have, I know one of the speakers tomorrow is Nadine, of course. Scott is back, his third of 3 presentations. I love this presentation on the long-awaited evolution of performance management. You will not be disappointed.
He's got such a great background in human resources, as being an EMS operations leader in the past, and the work he's done across the country in helping other EMS organizations. He's just a brilliant person, and we're thrilled to have him as part of the summit.
And then Rick Rupenthal will be talking about leadership in constant chaos. I mean, who doesn't appreciate that? He talks about adaptive leadership, and we got a lot of questions about, how do you lead in ever changing times? And this is really a phenomenal presentation to learn how to do that well.
Absolutely. Suze Jeffries. Suze joined us last year speaking about Tai Chi, and she's an expert instructor in this, and she's also been a nutritionist certified nutrition therapist for over 25 years, I believe. And she helped coach me in the last 8 weeks leading up to this summit, and we've been working on some other big contracts, so it was great to have that support of being just super busy, but also being able to take care of myself, and she's got some great resources for busy professionals on the go. Simple strategies. She's got a great attitude. She did a great job with the presentation. So can't wait for more folks to see that.
And then this wonderful panel. I love the title, Leaning into the Future. So many tools, so little time. I mean, who doesn't have that experience, right? There's so many things, so much technology. How do I leverage it? And how do I get people to actually use it, right? So these 3 experts.
Scott Porter is the CIO of the LA City Fire Department, really big organization. I think it's the second largest fire department and largest city in the country. Ashley Cashin with the What 3 Words Company, and Jameson Peebyhouse with Rapid SOS. So these 3 experts, I mean, the fact that they've mapped What 3 Words mapped the world into 3 square meter grids. And so, you get these standard address that sometimes, you could be on a beach, you could be in the woods, and they've got some great case studies of even folks at the border crossings and really trying to identify where people are. And there's some great examples here from these 3 leaders, especially for our 911 telecommunicators. There's just an excellent panel.
And then Lisa Rainey, terrific conversation about operations and supplies. And, when you really think about it, when people don't feel comfortable that they're going to have what they need when they need it, it can really impact everything in that organization. So offers some excellent tips and just a great strategy for being able to deal with the whole issue of supplies and, having the right amount. And it's really good, really, really good. And then so honored to talk to Dr. Keith Blevins. Just amazing. He worked at the Mayo. He consulted with the Mayo Clinic. And the title of his presentation is The Answer Everyone on Earth is Trying to Figure Out. And it's no joke. It's exactly what he's talking about. And he's got great evidence from the Mayo Clinic, because they research everything, of how effective this idea of state of mind and its effect on performance and satisfaction. So really, he's actually going to be with us tomorrow night.
Oh, wow.
I can.
Realize that.
Yeah, I am like.
He's retired now. He was a licensed clinical.
No, he's not retired. He is. You're thinking,
Okay.
you're thinking of Dr. Bettinger. He was he was retired.
Okay.
No, I believe he's still practicing.
Wow.
He is. Yeah, he's phenomenal. He's really phenomenal. So
Great.
I can't wait.
That'll be a treat for tomorrow. All right. And then tomorrow night, our final daily debrief, where we're taking your questions. We've got a great lineup of speakers, and we're this to you. Again, folks can still sign up for free. We still have.
It says Scott Moore could talk about Teletubbies, and I'd listen intently. And I have to agree with that. He really did a amazing 3 presentations for us. Come on, just do
All right.
it, boy. Oh, so good.
All right. Well, Lisa, thank you. That was great. Great conversation tonight, as always, with our speakers. It's a pleasure to have them.
How could tomorrow already be day 5?
Right.
Didn't we just start? Oh my God.
All right, everyone. We appreciate you. Thanks for your time. There's Lisa again.
Hey, Lisa.
See you tomorrow. Excellent. It's going to be great. So we appreciate you all, and have a great night.
Have a great night, everybody. See you tomorrow.